Greetings, you are watching Black Thought, and I'm your host, Dr. Hutchinson, here on the M1 Network, emanating from Memphis, Tennessee. Glad to have you watching us, and we are glad for your support. Want to just cover a few quick things. First of all, if you're trying to figure out who I am, if you have not watched this show before, I want to encourage you to go to my website, noelhutchinson.com, noelhutchinson.com. You'll learn more about me, and I believe it will bless you. So first of all, this is sort of like a reintroduction for some. It's a welcome back for others. It's a setting of the table for others. Want to just have some brief conversation about who we are, about what we've done, and about where we're going, and about how black media and other things are shaping up here in the Bluff City. So first of all, this is the M1 Network. We are formerly MUTV1. We are the first black-owned television station in the city of Memphis. Yes, others have come along. Others have tried to do their thing. We're not knocking them. Free enterprise is the name of the game in the United States of America. But guess what? We were the pioneers in bringing this to pass. And I want to make mention of someone who's no longer in the land of the living, but we owe a debt of gratitude to. This medium was the brainchild of the late Eddie Jones. He was the one that saw a way to do it, saw a way to begin to broadcast when others didn't see it. And I want to kind of paint the picture for you. There are many persons in our market who have the capability of doing what we did. There are persons working for various television stations that have the expertise, that have the capability of doing what we did and doing it as well as we did. But for whatever reason, they did not launch out into the deep and do what we did. And so we were the first. And so I had this conversation with somebody maybe about a week ago, and they said that you all were the pioneers. Matter of fact, when I get to the future, I will allude to some of these future things. But they said, you all were the pioneers. And they said, as with any pioneer, you take a lot of the bumps and the bruises for other people. So let me just say some of the ugly. Not all of the ugly, but some of the ugly. The reality is that people want to eat well, but don't want to pay for the meal. People want to ride in a Mercedes, but don't consider the upkeep. What am I trying to say to you? We want strong black media. Many people are tired of when they turn on television and listen to radio that their viewpoint is not reflected. And understand what I'm saying to you. We give you some slithers of some of our viewpoints. Black folk are not monolithic, but when you have no medium to give forth your voice, then you in essence have no voice. And so when we came on the airwaves, we highlighted a lot of people. A lot of people you see in the news now around Memphis, they cut their teeth right here at the M1, then MUTV1 network. They were interviewed. We supported them. We supported a lot of endeavors. As a matter of fact, the race that filled the seat of the late Lois D. Berry, and it was filled ultimately with Ramesh Akbari. We had a panel where all the people running for the office were able to come on my show, and we were able to highlight them so you, the constituents, would be able to decide who to vote for. That happened here. We did live remotes from polling locations. We've done a whole host of things, not only me, but Dr. Ivory Taylor, Deidre Malone, others who have been on this station. But the sad reality is we didn't get the financial support from the community that we should have gotten. A lot of people say they want to eat well, but they don't want to pay for the meal. A A lot of people say they want to ride in a Mercedes, but do you realize that the Mercedes is at the epitome of engineering? But the bottom line is, if you don't upkeep the car, it won't run. If you do basic maintenance to a Mercedes and stay on top of it, you can ride in it for 400,000 miles easy. Because the car's designed to last. They're used as taxi cabs and executive cars in Germany where they're built. So if you have a diesel engine, you can easily ride a Mercedes 500,000 miles or more. If you have a standard gas engine, 400,000 miles. But if you don't upkeep the car, you might not get to 100,000 miles. And so what's the point I'm making? We have to support our media. And because we were pioneers, we scared some folk. Let me put it to you like this. The name of this show is Black Thought. I want you to sit on that for a minute. Just the name of this show scared some people from supporting this show. Let me help you understand it a little better. I'm on the radio in the local market. I have a show entitled Huddle Talk with Dr. Hutch. The show Huddle Talk does about 80% of what we do here on Black Thought. But people can embrace Huddle Talk. Why? Because the name Black is not in it. I've had persons say to me that because of the name, they couldn't support the network. Let me segue to something that someone else is doing in the community. I remember having a conversation with Cynthia Daniels, who's over Memphis Black Restaurant Week. And I was there on the ground floor when it started. When they had their first press conference at the office at Uptown, I was present along with some other people. I had casual conversation with her, and one of the things that came out is they wanted to highlight 3 additional restaurants in that initial, Memphis Black Restaurant Week. But they couldn't. You want to know why? These restaurants did not want to be identified as being black. Now here we are in 2019. You look in the mirror, it's obvious you're black. You look at your kinfolk, it's obvious they're black. You look at all the people that live around you, it's obvious they're black. You look at the people that cook in your restaurant, it's obvious they're black. You look at the people primarily that come to your restaurant, they're black, and you have a problem with being black because it's going to be to your detriment. So see, that's part of the issue that we are dealing with in our community. We seem to be ashamed of who we are, which is a mind blower to me. Because even if you bleach your skin, which actually will shorten your life, that's another conversation, you're still black. Even if you clean up your diction and you enunciate your words to where you sound more like an anchor for a news broadcast than the person that you are from the hoodie hood, still black. So we have to begin to support each other. So yes, we were pioneers, but guess what? The pioneers are recalibrating for the future. So we're getting ready to do some innovative things. Can't reveal all of them to you, but just to say, you're watching us now on a slightly different platform. We're coming back to you in the platform that we've been using. And we're in the midst of creating new platforms and new shows to give you the full breadth of our experience. Furthermore, I'll say this part may be in code, so to speak, because I also found out we also found out that if you reveal all of your business, especially in this market, and I got a couple people sitting off to the side nodding, that people will take your idea. Now, mind you, they won't be able to fully execute your idea because they don't fully understand it. But if they get enough of it, they'll take it, run with it, mess it up, and then you won't be able to execute it in the way you originally planned to because they took it, ran with it, messed it up, and sullied it up. That's like, remember back in the day, you had church clothes. Your mama told you, you only wear these to church. Everything else, you can wear it whenever you wear. Matter of fact, you had school clothes, you had play clothes, you had church clothes. Now, that didn't mean you had a whole lot of clothes. You may have only had 4 outfits, and you just kept washing them every day. But you had church clothes, you had school clothes, and sometimes the school and the church clothes were a combination of each other, and you had play clothes. So when you wore your church clothes, you did not play in those clothes. And I remember back in the day, some of us got some severe whippings for playing around in our church clothes because it was an economic issue. Our parents couldn't afford to keep buying clothes. They had to buy them enough because you were outgrowing them or you getting the hand-me-downs. And so what we want to do is play in church clothes when we hear somebody else's idea. But there'll be some collaborations that'll happen in the future because one thing that's happening in this market now, that those who are trying to make a difference realize that we're going to have to start working together and not work in our individual silos to make things happen. So often we've been trying to work in our silos and it's been working to our detriment. And so you will see some interesting collaborations in the future. Won't get into them, but they're going to be activated soon. So I look forward to what those will look like. Because if you think about it, Memphis is one of the largest markets for African Americans in the country. I think it's probably the number 2 market behind Atlanta for black people in this country. Think about it. Yes, you have more black people in certain markets. You have more black people, for example, in New York than you have in the entire population of Memphis. You could almost say the same thing for Chicago and other places. But you don't have the ratio of black folk in terms of how they integrate with the entire community and the mass of black folk. In this metropolitan area, we probably have a good 600,000 African Americans that can be accessed. So think about it. There are celebrities, there are money people, there are all kinds of people, artists that pass through Memphis all the time and you never know about it. They record in Memphis. They do business in Memphis. And they come in under the radar. They handle their business, they leave. And unless you're in certain cliques, you never hear about it. There are some major recording artists, secular recording artists, gospel recording artists that have done recordings in Memphis in the last 6 months, and only an inner circle of people even know that they were here. And so things are moving in and out of this city all the time. But now here's the other piece of it. If we had black-owned media, or let me say it a different way, if we had black-owned media with a larger footprint, because we have the Tri-State Defender, we have the Silver Star News. When it comes to television, you have us, and then you have about, at this point, 2 other television stations. So the bottom line is, if you had more of a viable presence, what do you think things might look like when these people pass through Memphis? And oftentimes, and I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but guess what? I don't really care. These persons will come in Memphis, and if they do any type of publicity, they'll go to other stations. They won't even visit any of our media. Matter of fact, there was a famous person in town, I think it was about a week ago. And because of connections, I happened to run into him, and he's from my old neighborhood. Matter of fact, when I met him, I called him by a different name that only folk would know in the neighborhood. He was kind of surprised. And when I told him where I grew up, we had a good conversation. But the point is, while he was here for that 24-hour period, he did not route through black-owned media. Now think about it. We're one of the largest markets of black people in the country. How can somebody come in Memphis and not route through black media? How can there be press conferences and black media not at the table? And see, I want you to understand how this works. And then I'm going to get ready to get out your way. We have 2 other shows coming, and both of the hosts of those shows are looking at me and trying to push me out of the chair. So I got to hurry up with what I have to say. But here's how this works. We have the Mueller investigation that is concluded. He has given his information to the Attorney General. The Attorney General, you may disagree with what I'm about to say, he has politicized it by shaping it in such a way to say, well, you didn't find collusion against the president, let's move on. But yet, Congress has not received it as of this moment, and we really don't know what's in it. And depending on what side of the aisle you sit on, you have some pros and some cons about what happened with this investigation. The honest truth of the matter is, it's a shell game. And you're really watching the political entities play chess. Now the question is, what entity is sharing any type of viewpoint from us concerning this matter? What entity is able to shape conversations where we can look at a kaleidoscope of opinions from Black America concerning this issue? And while you ponder what I'm saying, when you even look at black media on the national level, it's drying up. Roland Martin does a podcast. And then when you look at other figures, they're on the air on these other networks for a season. And when you look at national black networks, some that used to be black are now owned by other people. And none of them have a news department. And to be quite candid, it's hard to upkeep a news department. But we desperately need somebody to share with us what's going on both locally and nationally. So you see how important this is? But freedom ain't free. Let me try to break this down for those of you who are a little slow. You can pay off your house. Owe no mortgage, you're in the free and clear. But if you don't pay your taxes, after a while, you'll be sleeping outdoors because you'll lose your house. Freedom ain't free. Everyone has to eat. You can have a refrigerator full of food. All food's good for your body. But if you don't get your lazy, rusty, dusty up and learn how to cook something, you will starve to death in your house with a refrigerator full of food. You got to take the time. If you don't know how to cook, you need to learn. Boil an egg, scramble an egg, make some toast, boil some hot dogs, eat some Vienna, something. But if you don't do it, as they used to say, the old folk used to say, you crying for hunger with a loaf of bread under your arm. Doesn't make sense. So in the upcoming weeks, we're going to have some guests. We're going to speak some truth to power. And y'all, we're coming back. I can't wait to see what this looks like. I just want to give you a taste and give you a plausible argument for why, when we start rolling out some more things, you need to support us. And why this whole market in this area for black media is getting ready to expand. It's going to go beyond just having talking heads that exploit the community. It's going to go beyond those that make fun of you, that talk about what you ain't and what you don't do, and call you out of your name. But we're getting ready to speak truth to power like we've done before. Don't know about us? Go ahead and Google M1 Network and check out some of the stuff we've done. We have a plausible track record in this community. And I'm going to brag a little bit on me. I have a plausible record of work in this community. So we're coming. All right, time for me to go. Got two other hosts over here. They're looking at me sideways saying, you're talking too much. Time for you to go. You don't have to go home, but you need to get out of that chair. Okay, I hear y'all. Getting ready to go. So as I go, brother, man, sister, woman, young boy, young girl, put your mind in gear and put your thinking cap on. Peace.